Hey guys, I am officially back from Alaska and I cannot wait to tell you guys about my trip. So if you're new here, my name is Lee and I love to make videos on fitness, travel, and lifestyle. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, make sure you hit the subscribe button so that we can be friends. So if you guys are not following me on Instagram, you definitely need to be, because that means you are behind in what's been going on with me. So I recently completed my 15th half marathon, which was the Mayor's Anchorage Half Marathon in Anchorage, Alaska. So I love to make race reviews just to kind of give you guys an idea of what the race is like in case you are interested in running it as well. So if you're interested, please go ahead and follow me on Instagram. So I love just recapping my training sessions as well as travel. So if that interests you guys, make sure that you follow me over there. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into my review of the Anchorage Mayor's Half Marathon. So this race typically takes place in June over the summer solstice weekend, which I find to be such a dream because Alaska is beautiful in the summertime. And on top of that, it stayed light 22 hours a day. So we were able to fit so much stuff into our trip because it literally was light all the time that we were there. So it was a really cool feature to be able to see that in person. Now for the accommodations, I found the accommodations to be very, very expensive. So if you are planning on doing this race, I do recommend hopefully being able to travel with a group of people. I travel with one other person, and that will kind of cut down on the price that you're gonna pay for your accommodations. I actually found the hotels to just be pretty much unreasonable. Like I could not afford to stay in a hotel, but I was able to book out a Airbnb. We were able to rent an apartment, and I found that to be way more feasible than staying in a hotel. Now, with that being said, there were not a lot of like luxury Airbnbs. There weren't like a whole lot of updated appliances and things like that. So just keep that in mind if you are planning on going there. So in my case, my Airbnb was clean. I found the host to be very helpful, very, very friendly, but it was just a regular apartment. Like there was nothing fancy. There were no fancy accommodations in the accommodations that I had when staying in Anchorage. So you guys might have better luck, but in order to keep that bill kind of low and more manageable, I do recommend staying in an Airbnb. And I don't recommend this being a solo travel unless you got the funds to do that. This trip will probably be more feasible if you have someone tag along. When it actually comes to traveling to Anchorage, I didn't have any issues traveling to Anchorage. So my flight was very reasonable. I probably booked my flight about 5 months in advance. It was very reasonable, but I did not catch a direct flight. So you can definitely save on some costs if you're willing to have a layover. If I'm remembering correctly, my travel partner had 2 layovers. We actually met in Anchorage. So we flew from 2 different cities. She had 2 layovers. I had 1 layover, and I found that to be very reasonable. Something else that I noticed when I was looking at flights is that a lot of the flights got in late at night. So you definitely want to be mindful when you're booking your travel into Anchorage that a lot of the flights are going to get in late at night, and a lot of the flights are going to leave at night. On our return flight, both of our flights left at 10 p.m. So there is going to be a little gap from the time that you may check out of your Airbnb versus the time that your flight is. And so what we did was we actually checked out the next day, but then left the night before, if that makes sense. So we went ahead and just booked the extra night and then just left the night before so that we had a place to, like be in between time. So as far as getting around in Anchorage, you are going to need a rental car. We did try to save on our rental car by not having it every day that we were there. So our first night we did not have a rental car, and then our last day we did not have a rental car. So it was really nice to try to save those expenses. But as far as like getting around the city, they do have Uber, they do have public transportation, but to be honest, nothing stands out about the public transportation. Like I can't picture a single bus that I saw. So yeah, you're more than likely gonna need a rental car while you're there. So moving on to the Race Expo, I thought that the Race Expo was lacking a little bit. The facility that they had the Race Expo in was absolutely gorgeous. They had enough parking for everyone. It was really easy to find. But the actual vendors, like when you attend like a lot of race expos, you really look forward to them when you're leading up to a race. Like, I like to go to the race expos and I want to see, you know, new supplements that may come out. I like the little, you know, race headbands. I want to get me some race gear. And so me and my friend felt like the race expo was lacking a little bit, but we did find that the navigation of the expo to be very easy. There was not a huge line, so we were in and out quickly. The staff was very, very helpful. And oh, it was also really cool that you can test your tracker, like your chip, while you were there. So I thought that that was very helpful, so there weren't going to be any issues when people run the race and then their tracker was not working. So I really thought that that was cool. That was actually the first time that I've seen that you were able to check your chip prior to the race. In all fairness though, I did feel like the running expo was in line with other races that were similar size. So it wasn't like, you know, super great. It wasn't bad. But I do feel like it was right on par with other similar races of the same size. So getting to the start line for the race, there were different options that you can take in order to get to the start line of your race. You can either drive to the start line, like there was like a big parking lot, a big facility, or you can take a shuttle that was like in different pickup stops throughout the city. And so what we did was we went ahead and just drove to the start line of the race. It just took out so much stress. But if you do decide to drive to the start line of the race, I do recommend that you get there early, because you don't want to be in a position to where you get to the start line of the race and there's no parking, and then you're really stressed out trying to find parking next to one of the shuttle stops. So if you are going to drive to the start line, you have to get there early just to alleviate that stress of not being able to find a parking spot. So we arrived at the start line 30 to 45 minutes early, and we had no issues finding a parking immediately. And so we were able to just walk right up to the start line. Good morning. We have officially made it to the start of the race. We're so excited. It is tons of people here. And the race starts in about 7 minutes. And we're ready. We ready. I'm hyped. She's very focused. Now, in order to get back to our car, we did have to take the shuttle, because the start and the finish line are in two separate places. It's not at the same place. So we did have to take a shuttle in order to get back to our car, which wasn't a big issue. Now, moving on to the course. This course was absolutely stunning. Like, it was a beautiful, beautiful course. The start line was really nice. There were a good amount of runners. There were a lot of people cheering you on at the start line. And then the first mile of the race was on a main road. And so there were a lot of spectators and a lot of people cheering you on. Now, once you got past that first mile or so, you pretty much veered off to like this trail that was in the woods. So we were kind of running on like an elevated trail, and then the coastline was beneath us. So you can pretty much view the coast 80% of the course, and it was just absolutely beautiful. Now, this course is known to having wildlife sightings. We did see some poop. I don't know what kind of poop it was, y'all, but maybe bear poop or moose poop. I have no idea. But there was poop on the course, but I did not see any animals. And I actually wanted to see a moose. Like, my trip would have been made if I saw a moose, because that would have just been the highlight. So I just had my eyes like wide open the entire race because I wanted to see a moose so bad. Now, my friend, she was like, absolutely not. I don't want to come across any wildlife. So, you know, you may either like the fact that you may run across wildlife, or you may be terrified. So just keep that in mind. So if that makes you uncomfortable, or you're like really terrified of things like that, you can always run with bear spray. Like I said, I didn't see anything. I didn't come across anyone who saw any wildlife on the trail, but you know, you can always run with bear spray if that will put you at ease. Now, because a large portion of the course is like within this trail, there were not a lot of spectators throughout large portions of the race. So I didn't find that to be a huge like deal breaker for me, because the scenery in the course was so beautiful that it really motivated me and kept me going throughout the race. So if you're someone who like has to see spectators, you really want to hear someone like cheering you on, then this may not be the race for you. But like I said, there were a lot of spectators like the beginning of the race. They had some strategically like in the middle, and then there were a lot of spectators at the end. But there were large portions throughout the race where there just wasn't any spectators because of how the course was built out. But I do a lot of my training like in a similar environment, and so it literally just felt like I was running a training course for me. So put you on some good music, you know, that can keep you motivated. Now, I will also say this, I'm not the fastest runner. And so there were portions throughout the race where there was no one around me. So I was essentially just running this trail. Even though I'm in the midst of a race, there were portions of the trail where I'm running by myself. But at no time did I feel unsafe. Like I always felt like, oh, there's someone just around the corner. Or now when it comes to the other runners, one thing that I was kind of mindful of, especially running in Alaska, is I was interested in, was the race going to be diverse? Was I going to see any other runners that look like me? Were other runners going to be traveling to attend this race? Because it is so, like, Alaska is kind of far, y'all. Like, Alaska is pretty far. So I was really interested in, is this a type of race that a lot of people travel to? Will I see other, like, runners outside of Alaska? And the answer is yes. Like I saw a good amount of people of color that were running this race. I met a woman from New York. I met a guy from California. I just met like a lot of people of color. I also met some really cool people who were not persons of color, from Illinois, from Texas. Like it was just literally people from all over. And so this race is really popular amongst the 50 state club, and so there were a lot of people wearing their race shirts, and it looks like they were saving Hawaii and Alaska for last. And so it was really cool to see so many people towards the end of their 50 state challenge running this race. So I definitely feel like this race is amongst favorites of half marathoners, and there were a lot of people who traveled in town to run this race. So it was really, really cool to see that. Like there is a specific type of runner who goes all out to travel for these races. So it was really nice to be amongst like-minded people who love running just as much as I do. So when it comes to the water stations, I feel like the water stations were appropriately placed throughout the course. The majority of the stations did have only water, so you're going to need to bring your own fuel if you are a fuel eater, muncher, or whatever throughout the race, because a lot of the stations didn't have, like, you know, orange slices or bananas or granola bars, things like that. So you are going to want to bring your own fuel if you're planning on doing this race. I believe there were 2 stations that did have Gatorade, but like I said, the majority of the water stations did just only host water. But I feel like what the race course lacked in supplies and fuel, they definitely made up for at the end of the race. Like this was probably, if not number 1, definitely a close second for end of race like activities. It was a vibe, y'all. So at the end of the race, they had stations or like food trucks, and they were giving away nachos, pretzels, donuts, of course beer. A lot of places give away beer. They had photo booths. They were giving away chapstick. Of course, they had an aid station, so if you like wanted to wrap your feet or anything like that, massages, like it was really nice. It was really nice. And it wasn't like a, oh, you just come and get a beer. Like they had a whole section blocked off for a beer garden. It was really, really cool. And they also had a lot of opportunities for photos. They had a professional photographer out there where they had like this moose propped up so that you can climb on top of this moose and get a photo op. Like it was really, really nice. So I really thought that that was really cool. So it definitely made up for like the lack of supplies throughout the course, because they just had all of these awesome things at the finish line. So I really appreciated that. Oh, I almost forgot. And of course they had a live band, which was awesome. They had a live band, they had a DJ, like the whole like end of race, like the finish line was a party. Like, and we were usually like at the end of the race, I can't wait to go home. Like I'm typically super tired. I can't wait to lay down. And typically like I don't want any beer. So I don't really stay for like the finish line activities that long. This time, like, me and my friend, we sat down, we got some beers, we ate snacks. And the weather was perfect. So we just were not in a huge hurry. We were talking amongst the other finishers. Like, it was just really nice. We took advantage of the free photo opportunities. I would go as far as to say this was my favorite finish line out of all the races that I've done. It was really, really nice. So for those who run for the bling, here is my finisher's medal. It's really cool. It's just one-sided, but it is really nice. Sorry you guys, I know that there's a glare. Had like this engraving on the back, which I thought was cool. It also has like, what is this called? Like the band or whatever, 2024. So it's really detailed. I really, really like that. Also too, you guys would have saw earlier in this video, my run shirt. I would show it to y'all right now, but I actually wear it a lot since the race. Like, it's a really, really nice dry fit shirt. They put a lot of time and detail into that shirt. And there has been like some races where, y'all, like, I hate the cotton shirts. I don't even know why they even offer that. This race, your run shirt came with the race, so you didn't have to pay an extra cost to it. And it was really, really nice. So I actually train in it a lot since the race. So it wasn't just like a one and done type of shirt. This medal also has some weight to it. So I felt like it was nice. Like, this was the 50th anniversary of the race. I feel like the medal is really nice. The shirt that they gave us was really nice. And I feel very proud of this medal. Like, I don't like the really cheap medals, and like, they just have no creativity to them. So I don't feel like that about this medal at all. I really feel like I'm proud of this medal. I'll put in some miles for this medal. This was definitely a bucket list race for me, so I'm really excited that I was able to make it happen. And it actually looks like the sponsors and the organizers of the race put on a good race, which is really nice when you have people traveling from all over to attend these type of races. So I really appreciate the time and detail that they put into the race and into the medal. So I feel like I gave this race everything I had. Like, I just remember being on the course and just feeling like, come on, you got this, you got this. Just a lot of positive self-talk and just a lot of motivating myself. It was just an awesome experience. I know this is lame, y'all, but I even teared up a little bit because I just felt so happy and so grateful, and just the vibe of the other runners and the scenery of the course. Like, I just felt an overwhelmingly sense of appreciation, gratefulness, and just blessings. Like, I felt so good to be doing it. You guys, if you get a chance to do what you love, make sure you take every opportunity to make it happen. So overall, I would rate this race an 8, and that is based off of the organization, like, of the actual race itself, the communication with the participants, which I really liked. Like, we got email updates. It was really easy to register. The staff was really nice. The course was gorgeous, and the medal as well as the finish line festivities. The only thing that would have made this race better, which didn't take off a lot of points honestly, would be if there was some type of sponsored accommodation, because accommodation is so sparse. But I've seen other races, like, once they get bigger they might do this, but I've seen other races have like a sponsored hotel where they will offer some type of discount, and then runners can stay with other runners, which is awesome if you want to meet other people, like-minded people. And then the other thing is, I would have loved to have seen just like more vendors at the expo. So yeah, and that may or may not ever happen because, like I said, Alaska is just so removed from like everything else that it just may not be plausible. But overall, great race, and I would highly recommend, if you get the opportunity to go to Alaska, and if you're interested in running a race in Alaska, that you should definitely make the Mayor's Anchorage Half Marathon your race of choice. Oh, I almost forgot. If you guys are interested in like everything that I did in Alaska outside of the race, you guys can just make sure to check my Anchorage, Alaska vlog. I'll link it down below. As always, I love making these videos. I love talking to you guys. I love running races. So if you guys enjoyed this video even a little bit, please make sure to give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below on anything that you liked in this video. If you have any upcoming races or recommendations of races that I should check out in the future. Also, if you are a race organizer and you are watching this video and you would love me to come out and run your race, just leave me a comment down below. I'll also leave my email if you guys want to send me a message. As always, I appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you on my next one. Bye.